Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill, Christchurch City Council Rates Validation Bill, Committee Stage.
I declare the House in committee for the consideration of the Arts Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill and the Christchurch City Council Rates Validation Bill. Mr Chairman.
Mr Speaker. Just one moment, I'm just doing something. Members, the House and Committee on the Arts Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill and the Christchurch City Rates Validation Bill. A point of order, Jamie Lee Ross.
The Arts Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill to be debated as one question.
The question is, or leave is sought that the question is that the preamble, parts 1 and 2, schedules 1 and 2 and clauses 1 and 2 be taken as one question. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Members, we first turn to the Arts Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill. The Honourable Nikki Wagner.
Mr Chair, it's with enormous pleasure that I rise to speak at the Arts Centre of Christchurch Trust Bill at its committee stage. This bill is an important element in the protection and preservation of the Arts Centre of Christchurch for the future. If you've been listening to the speeches around this bill over the last few weeks, you will realise how close to people's hearts the Arts Centre is. Doesn't matter whether you come from Christchurch or Canterbury or even from all of New Zealand. Probably you've spent some time at the Arts Centre. And people have very important memories. Perhaps if you're a little bit older, you will remember being a student at the university there, or more likely enjoying the bars, the restaurants or the cafes of the Arts Centre, maybe going to the Court Theatre, to the music in the Great Hall, or perhaps shopping in the markets or going to the Ducks Deluxe. It was a place of vibrancy, it was the heart of our city and something that everybody enjoyed. But although we might remember it for its good experiences, it is a significant cluster of magnificent historic buildings. 23 buildings, beautiful stone neo-Gothic buildings that were built between about 1876 and 1923. But of course, these magnificent stone buildings are particularly vulnerable to earthquakes. So during the earthquakes of 2010 and 11, 22 out of the 23 buildings were significantly damaged. And that has led to a huge restoration project, a project that could take up to 7 years, could cost up to $300 million, but a project that will restore the Arts Centre to Christchurch. Now, that also gives us an opportunity to think about a sustainable future for the Arts Centre. And so this is where this bill originated. The purpose of this bill is to modernise the governance structure and to set out the charitable objects of the trust in legislation. There's been a lot of work done around this bill. It started with a comprehensive review of the Arts Centre, its history, its purpose, and everything we knew and loved about it. And then that led on to a consultation, extensive consultation with stakeholders, because anybody who lives in Christchurch knows that everyone is a stakeholder when it comes to talk about the Arts Centre. Now, the bill recognises the importance of effective governance and the need for a board to have the right skills firstly to complete the restoration and secondly to create a sustainable future for the Arts Centre. And I do want to acknowledge the present board, in particular Jen Crawford, the chair, and the inexhaustible Honourable Margaret Austin, who's worked so hard to get this bill through the House. But I also want to pay respects to all members of that trust. It is a particularly hard-working, intelligent and skilled trust. And I think they've done a great job to get to where we are now, not only in terms of the restoration, but also in terms of their vision and their planning for the future of the site. They want the Arts Centre to once again be the cultural and social heart of Christchurch, and I think that's something every Christchurch person would endorse. I'd also like to acknowledge the management committee or the management team of the Arts Centre, and that's led by Andre Lovett. They are the on-the-ground logistics working to do the repair and the restoration of the centre, and they are making great progress. I hear that it is on time and on budget, and that it may even be completed before the 7 years are up. But back to the bill. The Select Committee made some useful amendments to the bill, and I want to thank them for their work, particularly the Chair, Scott Simpson. And it was originally thought that the site should be vested in the Crown on a temporary basis if the trust was ever wound up. But the committee decided that in line with similar trusts, the Charitable Trust 1957 Act would apply, and the Trust Board supports this change. The committee also proposed that the Trust might have a conservation plan for the Arts Centre available at annual meetings. And again, the Trust is keen to do this because the last plan was from 1992.
Honourable Nikki Wagner.
The new bill will enable the Trust to work effectively now, during the restoration period, but also into the future. And I believe that's what we need for this magnificent cluster of buildings. I think it's in good hands. I look forward to the gradual opening up of the Arts Centre. We've already had the registry building opened, and that's now got tenants in it, and it's working really well. The next thing that opened was the gymnasium, and for those of you who'd been in the Arts Centre pre-earthquake, that was the Academy Cinema. But before that, it was the gymnasium of the University of Canterbury, and before that, it was the gymnasium of Boys High School, Christchurch Boys High School. It's now being leased by a performing arts company, and it's being really used well. So overall, I think this bill is good for the Arts Centre and good for Christchurch. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members.